Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. I am Rosemary, and today I'm going to respond to two hashtags which are going around. One is 5 decks, 5 years from Simon at the Hermit's Cave, and then the other one is from Katie Flowers about, only 10 decks. And the idea being that you can only have 10 decks. What are those 10 decks going to be? The reason I've combined these is because a couple of weeks ago, I actually did a video on soul decks, and in it, I shared my soul team basically, and those five would definitely be coming. And I'm gonna let you know it was much easier to pick those five than to pick 10. I felt like I needed 11 or 12. Really. So just a reminder of what those five in my soul team are, which are actually my 5 decks in 5 years. Um, and also the first five that I'm going to choose for 10 decks are going to be the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. This is the first edition. I will probably replace this, so to speak, with the Revelation, although I'm not 100% sure about that. Once it arrives shortly. The second one being the um, Centennial edition of the Waite Smith, or Smith Waite. I've been working with this imagery for 15 years now, but I only received this deck in 2017. This deck came in 2018. In 2019, I want to say I received the Bonestone and Earthflash. It might not have been till the beginning of 2020, but I don't remember for sure. Um, and so that was, again, one of my soul decks, which is one of the three. And again, I'm going to link that video below as well as above so that you can find it and see my thoughts on that deck, rather than go through it again here 2 weeks later. This is my fourth soul deck, which is part of my soul team, which is the Fyodor Pavlov, which came in 2020. And then in 2021, as I've talked about over and over again recently, I received the Numinous Tarot, which is part of that soul team. And that video is above and below in the comments. So if you want to see those decks and my thoughts on those five, then please do flip over to that video at the end of this one. So what are the other 5 decks that I would bring with me or keep if I could only have 10 decks? This is very hard because very hard. But there were some no-brainers. One is the Golden Thread Tarot. This was actually one of 2 decks I received at the same time. When I first started buying new tarot decks in 2017, I purchased a deck that I no longer use at all, but I've kept for just the sake of having it because I really don't want to mess with trying to ship and sell and all of that good stuff. But this deck, I actually had purchased because it was plastic, and I love the simple imagery, and I love the way it shuffles. And so um, this deck for almost 2 years I carried with me everywhere, because I knew that it couldn't get damaged very easily. And it gave me imagery I was familiar with and was simple and kind of iconic in the way that it does the cards. And so I carried it with me everywhere for 2 years. So for nostalgia's sake, I would definitely want to have this deck with me. I do still enjoy shuffling it. I mean, this is so beautiful. Listen to this. And it mixes so easily and well, and I don't have to worry about the cards jamming into one another and getting twisted and all of that stuff that paper does. But I love this deck, and continue to enjoy working with it from time to time. But for nostalgia's sake, it would definitely be one of the 10. The other one is the Urban Tarot. I felt like I needed a Thoth deck in here, but mostly I ended up with Thoth-inspired decks like the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, this one, and the next one I'm going to show you. This deck, I just love the imagery in, and I work with it so much more than any of my other Thoth decks, because I do have a few specifically Thoth decks. I like that it does do the pip thing, but it does it in the context of an image that relates to the theme of the card. And I love how the courts are named, and everything was just modernized a bit. And I don't know, something about this deck, it just is gorgeous, and I love Robin Scott's images for the cards. It really, for me, helped me connect with the idea of the Thoth. And I find that as I'm doing my own deck and working through that project in which I share some of my favorite cards from decks I own, this one pops up almost every week, because the images are just that great. And so that would definitely be coming with me. Another self-inspired deck that will be coming with me would be the Lost Hollow. That would definitely be one of the 10 I would keep around. Another great thing about this deck, this is another one that just shuffles beautifully. I love this kind of linen cardstock. And I also love the fact that I can work with this as Smith, Wade, or Thoth meanings. It does have the Thoth keywords at the bottom, but the imagery could really read either way. This would be my little bit of a darker deck. I just love this card, how judgment is expressed with the description of an angel from Ezekiel. And see, I'm looking at these cards rather than showing them because I do just love them so much. But also, it came with 8 and 11 as both strength and justice, and strength and adjustment. Strength and justice, and adjustment and strength. So you could flip it back and forth if you wanted between RWS and Thoth. Oops, excuse me. Dropping the cards. But I do really, really love this deck. The way it shuffles, and that it gives me some versatility, and it adds something a little darker to my collection. And so that would definitely be coming. Um, this is the Deck of the Bastard. I grabbed it because I do love the imagery that is drawn from older decks, and I like that it has the keywords on it. It looks old, even though it's not old, and it kind of mixes different decks from antiquity with more modern day imagery, and so I I wanted I like seeing these old images at times, um, from with especially the courts and the majors in here. I like the transition of the pentacles to coins and the minors, and yeah, I love. And this is again another deck that is plastic, so it shuffles beautifully, and I don't have to worry too much about it getting damaged, and so it's easy to work with. And I do love my backs that I chose for it. I think they went really well with it and gives it the feeling that I wanted of something from antiquity, so to speak. So yeah, I would definitely have this deck. Now, the last deck in the 10 would be very, very hard because I have 3 decks that are really vying for that final position that they're coming with me. Um, And when I was grabbing decks, which I did like fire sale, right? I just went in and grabbed decks that I was like, oh, I want that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And I did briefly think about the last one, but I ended up grabbing the Curious Travels because I wanted something fun and I wanted something watercolor and so I ended, and the reason that I chose it over the other two was that one of the decks I actually am using in a project. And so if I was grabbing decks, I wouldn't grab the deck that I have used in a project, right? Because it's in the middle of something. And so um, that's how I ended up with the Curious Travels. But I love the watercolor in these. I love the imagery. It's different than anything else that I have. Um, and I don't know. It's its own little world, basically. It's beautiful, and I'm still trying to break it in. The cards stick a little bit, but I like that it brings in the animals without being a completely animal deck, right? There are images of people in here. I love the gnarly trees and wands that she did. It's a really lovely deck, and I have been working with it a great deal since I got it. So I think it would be add something different and fun to the 10. Um, and I don't know, something about this card, I just love it. And I need this card if nothing else with me, right? I don't know why that monkey over the alligator, it reminds me of the Thoth, even though, but because of the alligator or crocodile, and the difference. So yeah, definitely, definitely this one. So those would be the 10 decks that I would hold on to if I could only have 10 decks. And again, if you want to see the first five, I flipped through some of those cards and talked about why I love those decks. Just a couple of weeks ago in my video, Soul Decks. And yeah, so if you've done a response to this, just let me know. I have been watching them as I see them pop up and feeling everybody out. I know a lot of people have said that because it's November, it can be hard to do the 5 decks in 5 years prompt because there's still decks coming this year. Like for me, I haven't received the Revelation yet for SKT. And a lot of people have put it in there, even though they're like, I just got it. So I could change my mind in a week or two after I've worked with it for a while. Or I may get another deck tomorrow for 2021 that I love, right? But for right now, if I were choosing, obviously those would be my 5 decks for 5 years, as well as the first five in my 10 decks that I would keep. Um, and I would say that my 10 decks that I'm going to hold on to might possibly change because I do have new decks coming in all the time, but definitely the first five would remain the same for the time being. Until next time, everyone, good journeys.